My name is Janko Budzisch, Chief Product Owner for the operations part. So now we will see how this is positioned and how this fits together. Let's start. I called my presentation a challenge to operate in intelligent enterprises. And with this we will also start. At the end, what are really the challenges? I mean, what we are now doing in SAP is we are decomposing our monolithic components to single cloud services. And there are tons of reasons. We like to make sure that we are more flexible to deploy them. We like to make sure that you can change your business processes incrementally. However, there are also some extra challenges, in particular in the operations part, if you consider this. I mean, operations means, at least as we define it, mainly monitoring. And this means we have now to make sure that we get all the data from these distributed environments. And as more services are here involved, as more complex this could become. Secondly, we have to make sure that your end-to-end processes are still traceable. This means that we understand how actually the data are flying around, and also we have to understand how end-user requests are handled in such a distributed environment. And that's why we think that transparency is key. This means we have to make sure that you are not lost, that you understand at the end how an end-user transaction is processed, that you understand how a message is at the end processed from component to component. And this is now true in a cloud-centric environment, but this is even more difficult in a hybrid environment where parts of your solutions are running still on-premise or in a private cloud, and other parts are running in SAP-based cloud services. And this is also applicable for components of non-SAP vendors which are here involved. If you see this is more or less the complete picture. It's a little bit different. We are not talking about cloud and on-premise because this is very often very misleading. So that's why we introduced the term SAP managed components and customer or partner managed components. Because perhaps from customer perspective, if you are moving your S4 system to an hyperscaler, this is from your perspective perhaps cloud, but not from SAP perspective. That's why we differentiate not between on-premise and cloud. We differentiate between SAP managed components and partner or customer managed components. You see on the top the customer and partner managed components, and below the SAP managed components, which could be private cloud components or which could be public cloud components. And now I'd like to give you a kind of introduction how our different platforms fit in. First of all, focused on internal usage. Very likely you know this story. We developed originally SAP Focused Run for internal usage. At the end, we failed to use SAP Solution Manager for this, and our operations was looking for an alternative for this, which is appropriately scaling. So we started to develop this, in particular with the HANA Enterprise Cloud. The same approach is now also taken for RISE with SAP. We have it also now for S/4HANA Cloud and so on. Originally, our target was to run 10,000 systems. We are in the meantime at 50,000 systems. So we overdid more or less we overachieved our targets. So this means we are quite proud and quite happy that we did this. Based on these experiences, we added also additional use cases for application management in particular. And we provide this now also for service providers, external or internal service providers. Internal service providers means at the end customer IT organizations. Simply to make sure that they can use our best practices. Because as you can imagine, we're doing a lot of investment for our internal focused run installation, and this we should also provide to our customers and our partners so that we can utilize our best practices. And we will also see in one example how this could be paid out also for customers. So Solution Manager can be also far more used to operate your landscape, mainly on-premise. Focused Run is more or less, in particular, focused on hybrid landscape, meaning it supports the complete on-premise footprint plus the complete cloud footprint. And in addition, we have SAP Cloud ALM, obviously as a new offering for cloud-centric customers. And this means really we're focusing on the SAP private and public cloud offerings with SAP Cloud ALM. Pretty clear. This means we don't support all components which we have on-premise. I mean, Mark explained this. We like to avoid to copy the same complexity we experienced with our huge amount of different technologies and components on-premise to SAP Cloud ALM. We try to lower a little bit the complexity and to make it more clear. This is in particular associated to the term agentless. This means we try to avoid that you have again to deploy agents in your landscape to connect to SAP Cloud ALM. For cloud services, obviously this is anyway, you have anyway no chance to do so. So this means you cannot deploy somewhere in our cloud an agent which is connected to your operations platform. So that's why it's a clear consequence from this approach to be cloud-centric that we avoid to deploy agents and that you can connect directly more or less with the cloud services on on-premise systems. That's why we are supporting with SAP Cloud ALM only on-premise ABAP systems. This means we started with S/4HANA on-premise, then we added Business Suite, and now we added also Business Warehouse, and step by step potentially our ABAP stacks will join, but it will be restricted to ABAP stacks. Good. And now what are the big differences between the two platforms, SAP Cloud ALM and SAP Focused Run? First of all, SAP Cloud ALM is for cloud-centric customers, and for cloud-centric customers, always system management approaches and aspects doesn't play a major role anymore. This means we are here really focused on application management aspect and business process management aspects. Versus Focused Run is a pure IT tool. Focused Run is really intended to handle mass volume, big landscape with high security standards, high degree of automation. This is where it comes from. So this means if you are a customer with some on-premise systems in ABAP and you have the rest cloud, you are with the rest cloud-centric, then SAP Cloud ALM is the perfect fit for you. If you are saying I have more or less the complete SAP footprint, on-premise footprint, plus some cloud services, then it's perhaps better that you are working with SAP Focused Run. Also to say this pretty clear. This means we address with SAP Cloud ALM IT users, but also business users. That's why we added also capabilities as business process monitoring or business service management to SAP Cloud ALM. Versus SAP Focused Run, where we have pure IT capabilities. Everything what we have in Focused Run is intended for IT. And that's why we have also another degree of visualization. We have to take care more about DOIs and so on to be also attractive for business users and for occasional users. Yeah? So it's really a huge investment in this direction. Besides this, we have monitoring our key capabilities in both stacks. We have also operation automation tools in both stacks. Again, business service management is exclusively in SAP Cloud ALM. Here we have service level agreement, service level management in Focused Run, but this doesn't come to the same level as we have it in SAP Cloud ALM. Good, let's go a little bit in the details. This is first of all a quote of a customer. This is the customer incentives. We were one of our early adopters, so we started to implement SAP S/4HANA Cloud, and we were keen to understand how this is used. For this purpose, we are using our real user monitoring capabilities, that you see really what users are using it, how it is used, what is the performance, and so on. But also we are using business process monitoring to understand also how the applications are used from the business process perspective. And now as the next step, we will also use integration monitoring to check whether the data flows between the different components are running quite well. So one of our reference story. Now we come to the functional overview. As I said, SAP Cloud ALM is more or less a complete full stack monitoring. We start with the business process level, and then integration level, user level, then we come to job and automation monitoring, and then we come to health monitoring. Health monitoring is a kind of artificial term we introduced to make sure that we have something which more or less collects everything what is the monitoring of technical KPIs. Why we need now technical KPIs for cloud products? Relatively simple. First of all, you can build your own applications on top of BTP, SAP Business Technology Platform. If you do so, then you are still responsible to understand the performance and the resource consumption. Appropriately, we have to provide you with KPIs, which are then visible in your in health monitoring. In addition, it could be that you need to check also for SAP-based SAP as a service products like CPI or like IRPA and so on, that you need also for this certain visibility in technical facts, for instance, queue lengths and different other things. For this, we also provide you with health monitoring. And last but not least, we have for the on-premise systems, as I said, SAP Cloud ALM supports S/4HANA and Business Suite and our other based products on-premise. For this, we have a kind of lightweight monitoring in health monitor. We just released this, so this is now also completely covered. You can also feed in metrics and events from other components, if you like, from our infrastructure, so we are here completely open. Then we have something what we call intelligent event processing. So major new capability is we splitted alert management from event management. This means everything is exposed via event, and alert is just an additional channel. So this means an event can lead to an alert, but must not lead to an alert. So this means the central event bus is really the central hub in the infrastructure, which connects all the pieces of the infrastructure with each other. And then we have problem resolution. This means how you can actually then resolve a certain problem which is detected by monitoring. And for this we have also different capabilities. First of all, we have operation automation capabilities. And here we integrated at the end external engines appropriately. So you can build up your operation flows with the BTP workflow management. You can build up your operations flow with the intelligent robot processing automation, or you can build up your integration flows with Autopilot, which is also an engine which is already contained in BTP. So this means we tried not to reinvent the wheel. We are using these existing execution engines and automation engines, and we just linked them with each other, so it's really a hard connect. This means you can build, for instance, your own operation flow in workflow, and then you can register this workflow in SAP Cloud ALM, and then we can automatically trigger it via the event management system. So this is how it's working. For analytics, we have on one hand side embedded analytics. This means in the monitoring use cases we have directly analytics built in. This means we also have aggregation built in. We keep the data normally for 2 weeks, and then we build aggregates so that you have also a long-term history. And with analytics, with embedded analytics, you can visualize it, raw data as well as aggregator data. However, we provide also APIs so that you can consume the data also with outside tools. And here in particular, we took care about the SAP Analytics Cloud, which is one of the consumers, the externals, as well as on Grafana. We see that it's a clear trend to use Grafana as a dashboarding tool, which is open source, and in this sense also free of charge. Appropriately, we provide also now integration with Grafana so that you can also consume the data from where. And then we have certain built-in channels. This means we expose our data also we deeply integrated also certain consumers. To mention here is Servicenow in particular. We are nearly finished with this. This means you can create out of our alerts and ticket in Servicenow built in. This means you have not to register anything or have not to program against it. It is really coming out of the box. You can just connect it. The same we will do for MS Teams, for collaboration tasks, also that you can directly trigger on collaboration tasks in Teams. And potentially we have also other built-in channels. We didn't decide exactly what we do here. In addition to this, we will have generic channels. This means if you are using not one of the consumers which we build in, then you can program against APIs, and you can then also integrate your ticket system, your collaboration tool, whatever you are using appropriately to get the data where. For this we are using the Business API Hub. This means you can register against it and then you can get the data. So this is roughly the functional scope of SAP Cloud ALM. We are relatively complete. We have 2 use cases we will add. One is synthetic user monitoring. This will become part of user and performance monitoring. We are currently in preparation for this. I expect that we have in Q1 2022 this also available. And the second use case will be configuration monitoring. This is also missing here. and this will be part of, we will come to a health and configuration monitoring, where we had then also coverage for this. Configuration monitoring is in particular important if we discuss security. This means we have to make sure that the systems are configured, let's say, compliant to SAP's security policies. Now let's do an example. I selected here business process monitoring. We enabled business process monitoring also now for success factors. You see on the left-hand side the enabled KPIs, and that you get an impression how this looks like. I like to give you a demo. This scenario is quite straightforward. Everybody can understand. We have a hiring manager who has to take care about getting employees, obviously. We have somebody who is taking care about the support, the recruiter, which is here EMEA. And then we have also a young talent who should become part of this company. And this I like to show you on the demo. So this is the Launchpad of SAP Cloud ALM. You see here the different components. Here we see operations, and you see also here we have different cards. Let's start business process monitoring. This business process monitoring is designed in a way that you can on one hand side have favorites, meaning you have targeted entry points to the application, or you have a general entry point. This means here we selected the end-to-end processes, and then you can also navigate from here, for instance, in recruit retire. We are taking here the process structure as it is defined, and then you see here in deep detail all the KPIs for success factor we are providing. Via breadcrumb we can also go back. Let's directly go to the favorites. As you see here, we see that we have one alert. We have obviously 7 pending offer letters. And then we see here also graphically how this looks like. 6 were not visited until now, and 1 is pending. And in particular, this pending one is now interesting. We see now here in very deep detail this pending letter. We are looking for a project manager. And we see here also who is taking care about this. This is EMEA. So in this sense, EMEA has now to take care that this position is as fast as possible filled. She got an alert. We see now here this alert was now caused because again it is critical for her, for the project lead to get this done. Oops. Then we see here the alert, how it is offered, and from here we can now start directly an action. We can start an operation flow. With this we send out an email, reminder email, and check and hope that we get with this reminder email this particular issue resolved. Again, this is for business users, not for technical users, as I mentioned already. And if you go now back to the alerting, sorry, to the overview page, and we check now what is going on today, then we see now we are again green with this KPI. The alert is still where because I didn't confirm it, but we see now that the appropriate application is now processed correctly, and that we have now filled also this position. So this means what needs to be done by Emily is now disappeared here. It's not open anymore. Yeah? So this is roughly how this interaction is working to make sure that an end user and a business user can get appropriately the things clarified. Let's go back to the slides. Okay. The content was already shown by Mark. At the end, it's clear all our monitoring doesn't mean anything if you don't have content. And that's why we focused really on the content first. And as you see, we have a relatively broad coverage. This means, in particular, all variants of S4 are more or less completely supported, including Business Suite. We have now also the major acquisitions supported in integration monitoring, in particular, SuccessFactors, Ariba, Fieldglass, Concur, and so on. And now we start also to onboard the smaller applications which are breaking out of the S4 core and embed them also in SAP Cloud ALM. This is still, there's also some discussion here and there, but at the end this we follow. And you see here we have, for instance, the asset management and the field service management. With new applications, they are supported here. Also you see here that we have master data integration supported. Master data integration is a new component, a kind of integration component, making sure that master data between the different parts of the intelligence suite can be exchanged efficiently. What are we planning in Q4 is to support also, for instance, Event Mesh. Event Mesh is also a new component, taking care about events which are exchanged between parts of the intelligence suite. Also here we already onboarded them, even if they are not yet really available. As you see, we have some leftovers in SuccessFactors, some leftovers in the business suite. IBP is missing in integration monitoring and so on. So we add them also step by step to get here also complete coverage. What is now important in health monitoring also to mention this, you see that we support different variants of S/4HANA on-prem already. This is with lightweight system monitoring, as I called it. Also for S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, we support this, but we also plan support for S/4HANA Cloud. We have discussions what we shall expose to customers, because normally we are taking care about the system management, so this will be a very limited support. But to make an example, for instance, certificate management and certificate monitoring is always an important topic, because this is in the responsibility of the customers. Good, let's move on. Let's come to the next process. This is business service and event management. As I mentioned, we are focused on business users, and what we see more and more is the applications are distributed in different cloud services. As more the transparency is lost, is now my business process running or not? And at the end, the business users don't take care about the cloud services which are involved. They just like to understand whether their business service is running. And that's why we did here the approach to combine different technical services, which could be cloud services or which could be on-premise systems, to business services. So this means it's a kind of bracket we put around a certain amount of services. And this is modeled in our environment, completely decoupled from any business process to keep it lightweight. And we expose at the end to customers business events, downtimes, or whatever else, service level agreements and so on, always on the level of this business service, to make it a little bit more understandable for business users. How we get now the data? We are using here the Cloud Availability Center. Like you know, for all cloud services, SAP has an official channel to customers to say whether a service is available, is not available, has a degradation or whatever else. And this is the Cloud Availability Center. This is the official agency, let's say, to tell to a customer whether a cloud service is up and running or not. And this we are reusing. This means we get the events directly from the Cloud Availability Center and visualize it in the business service management. Alternatively, you can use our monitoring capabilities as health monitoring, which will also generate such events, meaning degradation events or disruption events or whatever else, and will feed in this also in the business service management. And then on the other hand side, we have the different consumers of events coming out of business service management, which could be, again, operation automation. This could be our built-in channels or our generic channels. And you see here also that we have now also the intelligent event processing service as a kind of glue between business service management and then the consumers. This means also here we have a central hub involved. Yeah, and this was one of the main motivations why we split it also event and alert management, that we can also now say a generator of events is also business service management. So this business service management plays already a central role and will play more and more a central role. This just summarizes it. Again, a business user is not interested to understand all this technical reality and all these availabilities of single technical services. They just like to understand at the end whether your business solution is up and running. Good, now come to focused run. Also let me start here with a quote from CIMEC. CIMEC is full service service provider in the SAP space. We are working with them together since a long period of time. And their need was, or their wish was, to use SAP tools to do the operations of the landscape for the customer. And we replaced with our capabilities an existing solution, which is called Avantra. And they also now, step by step, add new functionality, going more in the direction of an application management service provider to make this even more a broader scope and even more valuable for their customers. From the functional perspective, and I just like to point out the differences to SAP Cloud ALM, as you see, we start with integration monitoring. This means we don't have business process monitoring here in scope. It's a pure IT tool, so appropriately we start here. And then you see again user monitoring, application monitoring, system management, and configuration monitoring. All these use cases are quite important and quite detailed, and reflect at the end our best practices we collected SAP internally, but in the meantime also with a lot of our service providers and big customers also. Yeah? All our big customers, a lot of our big customers are using also Focused Run, manage their on-premise landscape and as well as their upcoming cloud footprint. We have a combined event and alert management with the unified alert inbox where everything is in, all alerts, because again it's intended for IT. Appropriately we need a unified alert inbox to see everything together in one alert inbox. And based on the alerts we can also now do correlation. This is also quite important. We have, and we will also, one of our demos and of our customer showcases we will see here at the ALM Summit will exactly explain how this correlation could be built. So this is one of our co-innovation partners with who we build with, and we will also explain this appropriately. Root cause analysis was also such a co-innovation with SAP IT. So with them we built together a very detailed root cause analysis, which can be switched on request, where we get a lot of deep dive information, work process overviews, thread samples, and so on, to really understand in deep detail how this is going on. And then operation automation, relevant for triggering corrective actions as well as automating regular tasks. And advanced analytics and intelligence, here the main topic is that we like to make sure that we have on one hand side cross-use case analytics built in, but also that we expose the data to external vendors. And again, this alert correlation is the example I selected here. The challenge was at the end to make sure that, let's say, we are somehow capable to identify alerts which fit together, because nobody is interested really to have alerts which handle them isolated. This generates a lot of efforts, so that's why we have to cluster it. And for this, to achieve this, we define so-called context families. And with the help of these context families, we made sure at the end that we can do this summary appropriately and that we reduce the amount of alerts which has to be handled. Good. Seeing this, I would like to stop and hand over to Tonja.
And I would like to thank you very much. Go ahead. Thank you very much, Janko, for filling us in on the picture of operations for the intelligent enterprise and what ALM has to offer. I would also like to know from you, if you want to share with us what you're looking forward to over this and the next days.
Yes, I'm very proud and happy that we have in particular several customer presentations. We will have in the keynote today the presentation of Dimension Data, who will share with us their first experiences regarding implementation and using SAP Cloud ALM. We have on day 3 also a presentation of Entity Data. Entity Data is a customer. They also use SAP Cloud ALM for their operation purposes. Also here first experiences and explaining also to us what are their lessons learned. And then on day 4 we will have 2 customers. Our internal customer HANA Enterprise Cloud, who will report about this alert correlation. And then we will also have a presentation of SIMAC, we were also quoted here to explain us a little bit how we are using SAP Focused Run. So this is for me the most important stuff. Always listen to the customers, seeing what they are reporting, and then we move from there. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Good.